How's it going, guys? Cameron here with Canadian Gamer, coming at you with another video. Hope you're all doing well. Trying something a little bit different today. I got a new shotgun microphone which is attached. It's a Zoom microphone that's attached to the Sony camcorder that I'm using here today, the HDR SR12. Now this is a Sony branded microphone, and it's really cool because here, I'll show you a picture here. It basically has three settings on it. There's the off setting if you just want to use the internal microphone on the camera, and then there's the zoom option, and what that does is if you zoom in on the camcorder, okay, the microphone will actually pinch in to get further into what it is you're trying to pick up. So if you're taking a long shot of, like, let's say a bird that's half a kilometer away, the idea is you can zoom in, the mic will zoom in with the camera and try to get that extra bit of sound effect, right? And then if you pan out, the microphone will go like this as well, so it'll try to get you that full spectrum of audio. And then there's the shotgun setting, which points directly at the object in front of the camera, such as myself here today, and that's what we're trying. I don't know what it sounds like obviously right now. I'll have to wait until post-production, but the idea is I can record good audio without having to have an external mic, and it just makes things a lot easier whenever I render my videos. So we'll try it out. Should be interesting. I want to show you guys a few pickups here. A couple of days ago I actually picked up another copy of Blade Runner on the VHS, but this is a cool one because it's in a rental case, as you can see here. Really cool plastic rental case, and it even has the the rental stamps on the paper inside too. So I thought this was really cool. So I'm going to get rid of my other copy of Blade Runner on VHS and have this on the shelf. That is freaking awesome for $1. That is awesome. And then the last thing I want to talk to you guys about here is a couple of Sega Genesis pickups. Real short video, like I said. And I wasn't initially going to actually talk about this, but I think it's a good time to talk about it. And if you guys want me to go more in depth on it, I can maybe do a separate video. It might be a longer video. But I wanted to sort of talk about repros and about how repros are flooding the market, especially for the 16-bit consoles and the NES and even the Sega Master System. It's getting harder and harder to distinguish what is a repro and what isn't. You know, back in the day, you could easily spot a repro. The labels were always different looking. They still exist. You can see them online, whether it's on Etsy or it's on some of these other Amazon-ish, eBay websites, but they do exist. But we're starting to get some really decent repros out there, to the point where, again, it's very hard to distinguish what's legit and what's not. So one of the games I picked up was Ronald McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure, as you can see here. Now it is legit. It took me a while. It took me about 45 minutes to investigate this. I didn't take the card apart, but what I had to do was I had to go online and look at some other sellers, look at the photos, look at the screws, look at everything, look at the embossing on the back. And after doing my research, yes, this is legit. But the reason why I was questioning it, we'll get to it in a minute. I picked up this today. Now this wasn't even on my radar, but I found a listing on the local classifieds, and you could clearly tell it was an older woman, not older, maybe in her 40s. She was obviously selling her son's video game collection. She had everything listed. A lot of the heavy hitters were gone, but one of them was still listed. That was Earthworm Jim, for $15 Canadian. Now this normally goes for anywhere from $35 to $45 loose, and that's not even including shipping, handling, and tax if you buy this online. So I picked it up, but what I was concerned about was the manual. The manual, as you can see here, take a look. The manual is black and white, so I'm like, what the hell? Because like I know the manuals for Sega Genesis are typically colored, right? So I'm like, this is really sketchy, you know what I mean? And then I started looking at the plastic on the cart, and the plastic was kind of like a dull finish, and the screws were different than the shinier finish on this cart, which had different screws. And then I did some research, and this appears to be legit. So I'm like, well, maybe this is fake. You know what I mean? And then you look at the pins on here, right? And they're different colors. Maybe not different colors, but it's not pins all the way across on the top. But then I looked at some of my other Sega Genesis cards, and they're like that as well. Some of the cards, especially from like 93 onwards, like Vector Man 2 as an example, has the same pins as this. Whereas you take an older cart from the Sega Genesis, like Sonic the Hedgehog, it's got the same pins as this. And the same finish. So, yeah, so there's a number of things to really talk about here, and I'm not going to go on in great detail in this video, but long story short, with the Sega Genesis, even with the legitimate carts, it's hard to, you get wrapped up in it, because there's different moldings and different finishes. Some have a rougher texture on the plastic, some don't. There's, from what I can tell, 2 screw variants on the back. So, yeah, it can get kind of confusing to, you know, the average consumer out there that isn't 100% sure. And then just to add to that, so from what I'm reading online, so this is legit. Basically, once Sega started to, you know, produce carts 93, 94 that came in the cardboard box, a lot of the cardboard box reprints came with black and white manuals for cost-cutting reasons. So, like, as an example, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 came in a, I believe you could get it in a clamshell case when it first came out, but then later on, as it was being produced, you could get it in a cardboard box. Same goes for Earthworm Jim, a lot of the million sellers, right? But then I go online and I'm looking at a couple of listings online for Earthworm Jim for the Sega Genesis that came in a cardboard box, but they've got the colored manuals. So I'm like, what the hell? But then there are other games online, you can look it up on eBay, and they do have the black and white manuals. So it's like, did some of the cardboard box variants come with colored manuals and some came with black and white manuals? It's very confusing. So, yeah, long story short, this is legit. You know, aside from me not taking apart the cart, I'm confident this is legit. And this one is legit as well. It is legit. But there are fakes out there. There are. I saw a fake, one of these here, this cart, listed on eBay. I think the seller was from like Estonia, right? And it even said, the cart looked just like this. It looked identical, okay? But it said something on the front of it. There was an extra bit of text, you know, actually validating that it was a hack. Because apparently there's a hack cart of this out there that's uncensored. And I think that's what it said on it. It said like uncensored on it. It was really cool looking, right? But it was like almost, well, yeah, it's too good to be true. The cart was like, I don't know, 50, 60 bucks. So, yeah, I'm happy to have this in the collection. Obviously, it's a heavy hitter. But, you know, you got to be careful with these Sega Genesis carts, especially when you start spending 70, 80, 90 bucks on a cart. You know, it's one thing, like, I actually only paid 15 for this, so it's not really a big deal at the end of the day, even if it was a repro. But for a cart like this, whereas after, you know, I factored in my $4 of shipping and the taxes and everything, this one here was definitely over $80 Canadian, so you got to be careful. But, yeah, so those are the 2 pickups. I didn't want to make a long video. These are 2 heavy hitters in the collection. This one is not hard to find, per se, but it's one of the better games on the Genesis, and it is typically somewhat expensive. Like I said, usually $40, $50, right? Now, this game is extremely expensive. And then I was looking at one yesterday, and I think it was called, what was it called? Blades of... I can't remember the name of it. Blades of Vengeance? I think it was called Blades of Vengeance. It looks really awesome. It's awesome looking. It's an electronic arts game. And that one there, loose, goes for about 60, 70 bucks. So I might pick that one. I might pull the trigger on that because I want it bad enough. But, yeah, it's getting really, really, really sketchy out there. Really, really difficult to identify what's legit and what's not. So I'm interested to see, Master System Marceau has a game he has ordered online. He ordered a repro of the Hyperstone Heist Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the Sega Genesis because he's too cheap to buy the real thing. I'm kidding, kind of. So I'm interested to see how legit that repro looks. It comes with the box and the manual, so we shall see. Hopefully he post a video showing that off. Maybe he can talk a little bit about this topic as well. Again, I know he's big on the Master System, and again, talking about repros on the Master System. That, to me, is relatively new because I've seen repros on the Genesis and the SNES and all the other consoles for a number of years, but the Master System, I don't recall seeing as many repros, you know, let's say 7 or 8 years ago for that console as I'm seeing now. So it's wild stuff. Wild. So I'm going to leave it there. That's going to do it for this video. Hopefully the audio turns out well. If not, oh well, it is what it is. But leave it in the comments below. Have you guys noticed a slew or a rash of repros flooding the market? And what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's good for the market? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.